adult language, and violence. Lots of it.
Yo, Bills Mafia, what is up? We have 225 days to go until the Buffalo Bills win Super Bowl 57. This channel is documenting every single day leading up to that amazing moment with a video. All right, so if you've been sticking with me for the last few days, you know that I'm showing you what is, I think, the best Buffalo Bills documentary out there. So many interesting things about the Bills. It covers the Bills back in the AFL championship years. That was cool, I guess. Would have loved to have seen it. The documentary also goes into the 70s, and then it's heading into the 80s where the Bills struggled, but then finally they draft Jim Kelly, and just the whole thing is really, really interesting. And so here is part 4 of that series. I hope you like it. Love your comments. Appreciate that. Keep them coming, and I'll see you tomorrow.
1986 was a defining year in the history of the Bills franchise. It began rather quietly with the naming of Bill Polian as general manager, and then exploded with the signing of Jim Kelly in August.
Kelly signed a contract with the Buffalo Bills. He'll get the start at quarterback, and man, I don't think there's been an opening day that's been as eagerly anticipated as this one, and Kelly has made the difference there.
Kelly trying to get it going here. Dropping back to throw over the right, and it is caught by Reed at the 40, 35, 30, 25, 20.
Kelly brought a primal toughness and an arrogant swagger to a team lacking both.
Time, they're so wide open. Just give me no time. No hold. Push them up. I tell you what, they're open. Just give me some time.
Most importantly, he gave the Bills leadership and stability at the game's most critical position. Midway through the 1986 season, a coaching change was made. After only 4 wins in 21 games, Hank Bulla was released. The new man was a bold and somewhat controversial choice, given that he had not been in the NFL since 1983.
Bill Polian had just been made general manager of the Buffalo Bills, and I was enamored with his abilities. Well, when they made the midseason change, Bill went to owner Ralph Wilson, who did know me from the time I'd been in the NFL, recommended that I be brought in. They called me. I was stunned, and I got in my car, and I was down there as fast as I could go under the speed limit. First meeting when I walked into the room mid-season, 1986, Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith and those fellows were all in the room. I couldn't have pointed them out at that time. But what I said to them was, fellas, what it takes to win is simple, but it isn't easy.
The best way to accomplish that was to simplify and reduce. So we told our players, we're going to give you a relatively small package to learn. You better learn it well, and you better play it well. We can put the lines on the board, but the lines on the board aren't going to win.
When they're punting into the wind, you got to be awfully...
Under Levy's steady guidance in all phases of the game, the rebuilding process was accelerated. The first step was to become competitive. That was quickly accomplished with an expanding collection of talent. Players who were emerging as among the NFL's best at their respective positions. An electrifying offense featured Kelly and Andre Reed. A rapidly developing defense was led by All-Pro Bruce Smith. 1987 first-round draft pick Shane Conway. And Cornelius Bennett, acquired in a mid-season trade engineered by Bill Polian. Polian was the behind-the-scenes maestro, orchestrating the Bills' return to prominence.
He just turned out to be a great general manager. The guy belongs in the Hall of Fame. Some of the deals that he made, some of the things that he orchestrated, the Cornelius Bennett trade, the drafting of Thurman Thomas, some of these other players that might not have ended up here in Buffalo were a result of Bill Polian.
In 1987, the Bills swept the Dolphins for the first time since 1966. In the win at Miami, Buffalo overcame a 21-point deficit, one of the most memorable comebacks in franchise history.
In the end zone, Burkett, touchdown. This could win it for the Bills. The put down, the kick is up, and the kick is good.
In Buffalo, the Bills shut out the Dolphins in a thoroughly dominating performance.
It is caught by Burkett. Touchdown. Oh, what a great pass by Chris Burkett.
Let's get this back. It's big.
1987 also saw the Bills defeat the defending AFC champion, Denver Broncos. Buffalo was clearly a team on the rise, and their head coach knew it.
Congratulations. Hell of a job. You beat the team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. And you're as good as they are, and you're going to be the team that should set your sights on doing it this year. You can beat them all, and you know it.
It did not happen in 1987, but the foundation was being built brick by brick. The Renaissance was coming. A group of losers was on the cusp of being transformed into a team of champions.
It was in 1987. We were playing the Eagles, and it was after the game. I sat there, I told Biscuit, I said, look, man, you know what? We got a chance to be really, really damn good.
By 1988, the scene around Buffalo was changing, nowhere more noticeably than at Rich Stadium.
I remember the first game we played here. We walked out into the stadium and it was filled, and our crowd was very vocal and very noisy, and we got ready to play, and an emotion overcame me, which was a very, very sincere one. And I looked around at our players, and I looked in their face, and I sort of sensed they were feeling the same thing. And I just said to them, where else in the world would you rather be than right here, right now? And it's the way we felt every time we've gone on the field. So that's sort of become the last thing I say to them before we break that huddle and take the field for the game.
Okay, guys, where would you rather be? Right here, right now.
The desire was palpable, the talent sublime. All pros and future Hall of Famers were everywhere, playing fast and hard.
Look at my job.
We came out, and we just started beating on folks.
Snap from center, and the kick is blocked, and it is taken into the end zone for a touchdown by Rob Riddick. How do you like that? Back to throw, and he throws long for Harmon, and he is in for the touchdown. Mikowski drops back to throw. It's intercepted there by Kelso at the 25, at the 30, at the 35, 40, 45, midfield. Down to the 40, breaks into the clear at the 30. One man with an angle on him. He's at the 10, the 5, and scores. The put down, the kick is up, and it is good. It is good. The Bills have won it in overtime. They win the division championship, and this place is bedlam.
People were like, well, where did they come from? How did they get to be this good that quick? I mean, but we just had a lot of young, talented guys that really wanted to play the game.
You could see it all happening. You could see from time 86 till we stepped in. Yeah, we had some ups and downs just like most teams would have, but in 88 we were already in the AFC Championship game.
Despite being the new kids on the block, the Bills came close to knocking the Bengals block off. Big and bad, the Bills didn't win, but they were now bona fide contenders.
For the Bills, a very disappointing end to an outstanding season, one that people would never have dreamed of when they started. That this team would go 13-5 and go to the game before the Super Bowl.
88 didn't end up quite the way we wanted. We didn't reach it, but 3 years' time, we totally changed a franchise around that everybody laughed at the beginning, but the late 80s, early 90s, not too many people were laughing anymore.
By 1989, the Bills were a team to watch and wonder about, especially their identity-challenged quarterback.
What, the nickname for Jim? Heathcliff. I mean, he's that cat that thinks he's a dog. I mean, he's a quarterback, true, but he thinks he's a linebacker. Looks like Fred Flintstone running, but he tries to run, and he'd run head first, jump in the pile, whatever it took.
The 1989 season opener in Miami was vintage Jim Kelly.
What a finish. Kelly waiting, last play of the game, back to throw, and he's going to run, and he dives for the touchdown. He dove for the touchdown. Jim Kelly is being Never seen anything like that, man. Never seen anything like that.
The Bills followed that win with 8 more to clinch their second straight AFC East title and headed into the playoffs as a team knowing they were capable of anything.
Kelly back to throw. Looking. And he's got Reed at the 35, 40, 45 midfield. Down to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Buffalo. Andre Reed.
Told you, me, you, and Jim got to make the big play. You made the first one, all right?
The offense gave a bravura performance, bullying the Browns while racking up more than 450 yards. Jim Kelly's 4 touchdown passes kept the Bills close, but the 5th that would have won it never came.
Kelly waiting. Dropping back. In the pocket. Looking. Throws. Touchdown. End zone. No! Oh, it was dropped. It was dropped in the end zone. 9 seconds left. Kelly waiting. Crowd roaring again. Kelly at the 15. Dropping back, looking, moves, and it's intercepted. The Fates turn their back on Jim Kelly and the Bills in the waning moments of this dramatic game in Cleveland.
We learned something from that loss to the Cleveland Browns. We went into the fourth quarter behind by a large score. So we said, heck, we can't wait till the last 2 minutes to go to our 2-minute drill. Let's go to it now at the beginning of the quarter. We marched down and scored a touchdown. When we got the ball back, we marched down and scored another. Before the next season began, we had a 2-minute drill one day, and it was sparkling with Jim at the helm, and he ran it so well. As we walked off the field, Ted Marchibroda said to me, Marv, why don't we open our game, the season opener against Indianapolis, with our 2-minute drill? And I sort of looked at Ted and I said, I've been thinking the same thing, Ted. That was the beginning. We opened, went down, scored a touchdown. Jim completed, I think, 9 straight passes on the drive, and that was our offense for the next decade.
And what an offense it was. It went where it wanted and took what it liked. Best of all, it took almost no time before the Bills had mastered it.
Kelly to pass. He throws long this time, and it is caught. He's on his way for a touchdown.
It was bliss, a symphony of artists playing at the height of their powers. Men like receiver Andre Reed.
Best run after catch receiver I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I've seen them all. You put him inside, the strength that he had. Once he caught the football, he could break tackles, and just a guy that was very smart, knew where to be every time.
No matter where he was, he always seemed to wind up in the end zone.
By Reed at the 40, at the 35, 30, down to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Andre Reed scores!
While Reed was the up-and-comer, James Lofton was the old pro.
Chronological age only gives you an approximation of how old a person might be. There are some 80-year-olds who are very debilitated. There's some 80-year-olds that are pretty spry. James happens to be one of those 80-year-olds that's pretty spry.
The Bills have been unstoppable so far.
We knew that if they had an overload of defensive backs to stop the running game, we could run the ball with Thurman Thomas and Kenny Davis, 2 pretty darn good runners. If they tried to stack the run, how are they going to stop Lofton, Reed, McKellar, Metzlars, Don Beebe? And one of the unsung heroes of running that no-huddle, by the way, was Kent Hull, our offensive center, who in the wink of an eye had to relay the line-blocking schemes to his teammates up front, block 300 pounds of dynamite across the line of scrimmage from himself, and remember the starting count.
The brains of our offensive line. I mean, there's times where he would even turn around and say, we can't run that, Jim, get out of it.
If Kent Hall was the brains of the operation, then Bruce Smith was the brawn.
This movie is rated R. Adult language, and violence. Lots of it.
Bruce Smith, perhaps the most talented defensive lineman to ever play the game. I mean, 6'3", 265, 270, strong as all outdoors. Run by you, throw you out of the way, run over the top of you. Whatever he wanted to do to you, he could do to you.
Though he could do it all, Smith specialized in sacks, collecting 19 of them in 1990, a career best. And while he gave opposing quarterbacks nightmares, he gave his own defense its rallying cry.
Hammer time.
Hammer time to me is big plays on defense. You get a sack and a forced fumble, something to disrupt the offense. You get on them and you pound on them. You never let them get back up. I mean, you just keep beating down on them until you can't see the head of the nail anymore.
Gotta be hungry in there. You gotta be hungry.
Tighten up, defense. Tighten up now.
Elway waits for the snap, backs up in the pocket. He throws, it's deflected and intercepted by the Bills. Leonard Smith at the 30, down to the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, he scores! Leonard Smith!
The Bills were rollicking to win after win, until mid-December, when the indestructible proved otherwise.
And Kelly is hurt.
And holding his left knee, Kelly is hurt.
Uh-oh, Heathcliff is down. He doesn't get hurt. Okay. All right. Let's go, Frankie J. Strap it up. Let's go. We had all the faith in the world in Frank. I mean, Frank was a great quarterback in his own right. A lot of people don't understand that. Frank could play.
This is where it gets tough and the traffic gets heavy. Reich will throw. Looking, throws. Touchdown! Here's Reich to throw.
Frank Reich led Buffalo to a crucial Week 16 win over the Dolphins, as the Bills clinched the AFC East. By the AFC divisional playoffs, Jim Kelly was back. The offense was humming, and the Bills were closing in on football's biggest prize.
Andre Reed runs in for the score, and Rich Stadium has erupted in Fandemonium.
The road to the Super Bowl goes through Rich Stadium. It is the Bills and the Raiders looking to trade the cold and the snow of Western New York for a trip to the balmy breezes of Florida and the Super Bowl in Tampa.
That was a game so we could go to the Super Bowl. I said, no matter what happens, I'm going to win this game. I don't care what happens to anything, anybody. I will find a way to win this game because I'm going to the Super Bowl.
Darryl Talley said, "Coach, can I say something?" And I said, "Yeah, Darryl, go ahead." And he turned to the player and says, "When it's too tough for them, it's just right for us."
When it's too tough for them, it's just right for us.
The 1990 AFC Championship game was a whipping, pure and simple. Buffalo's offense was masterful, and even when it wasn't perfect, things turned out perfectly well.
So many things happened to us that game that the ball just bounced the right way. Snap, I fumbled, and I went to pick it up, and my helmet got thrown up in my face. I'd adjust my helmet, and I scrambled to the right, and I threw one to James Loft, and he caught and wound up going in for a touchdown.
And they're after Schrader, and he throws it, intercepted by Kelly at the 20, 15, 10, 5, and he is in for the touchdown. The Bills are in the Super Bowl for the first time in their history. It took 25 years to get there, and they did it in championship style.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great.
Congratulations. Your dream came true.
Congratulations. You did a great job. You did a great job.
I'm so happy for you.
Jeez, I'm happy for everybody.